prioritizing what I need in life. Talking cake, you know I need a slice.
Turn that up
It
a
was
little
cause
bit.
we made this shit suffice. She went skate because she see the ice. See the place and then she get enticed. Double back, she let me hit it. Wait. Double back, she let me hit it thrice. Mommy, tell me what your price is. Shawty flexing with the prices. Till she caught up in the crisis. Now she wanna know who Christ is. Shout out family trying to see me win. Homie sleep, don't know what dream he in. Mind control, don't know what TV is. Out the box, you cannot keep me in. This the presence of a legend. Story real, it ain't a legend. Break the bread up with the brethren. Danny Glover, lethal weapon. Never know, we keep on guessing. I'm just trying to whip it, hit the gas, little button mash like it's tanking. Young enough to see the blessing. Hey, look. Click, clack, and my wrist matching, we throwing gems. Big facts and these kids capping, we grown men. Yeah, shit slapping, we been at it, we zoned in. Quit acting, we been acting, we focused. Dip traffic, my whip dropping, you know what it is. Yeah, shit happens, but ain't no scratching me.
Took a break, stepped away, now I'm back to my old ways. Got me feeling like the best of time, and if you guess beside it, came back with the whole waves. Skip the line, let us through. Jim shine through the light with a cut through. Sick thing, risk game off the cuff too. No scrimmage, making plays, and we up too. More blessings again. Who fresh as I am, my presence can style you. Just trust what I'm saying. Don't bust down the band, bring down the value. We finna take a town wide open like an astro plane off the ground, sky floating. And you can have your hands in my face, but I'm seeing everything with my crown eye open.
Yeah, click, clack, and my wrist matching, we throwing gems. Wait, big facts and these kids capping, we grown men. Wait, yeah, hit slapping, we been at it, we zoned in. Yeah, look, shit happen, but ain't no scratch on me. Nah, look, big action with a lit caption, we focus. Yeah, shit happen though, ain't no scratch on me. Nah, yeah, whip dragging, we dip tracking, we strolling. Yeah, shit happen though, ain't no scratch on me. Nah. Yeah.
What's up, everybody? It's Eve and Marie.
Hi.
And we're back with another episode of Millennials Adulting. I hope you liked our preview tonight. I think as you guys send us some tracks, if they're not trash, I would be happy to preview your music on our channel. So shout out to Sunny for sharing our first live preview, because y'all have heard some of, well, actually not some of, you've heard my favorite song, Say Yes by Aaron Dallas. So let's give credit to people who make music and give them a chance to share that music with you guys. So that's something that I thought we could do. And that's something that we started doing tonight. Tonight, Black Sheep. I want to talk about Black Sheep. And really, I didn't really want to talk about it as much as I feel like, Marie, as the adults in the room, a lot of us have gone our own way. And inside of our own way, family traditions, things that we grew up with, maybe we've kind of divorced from those things, or we don't even participate in the way that our families would expect us to. I have a lot of stories to talk about, different examples of going my own way, but I wanted to start with you because I feel like we were supposed to talk about this. Not like I feel like we were definitely supposed to talk about this last week, but the conversation got derailed with some real-time news about what's going on in my life. So thank you for that.
Really? I think they still kind of the subjects still carry over even from last week, because I think oftentimes the Black Sheep is like going against the grain. You know what I mean? Going against what everyone, tradition, what you've known, what you've been taught, and it can be both positive and negative. You know what I mean? So it's like depending on what you're like, how you grew up, or let's say you grew up in dysfunction, and then stepping out of that space and entering the world. And oftentimes when you grow up in dysfunction, you don't know it's dysfunction because it's what you've always known. It's what you've always done. It's what you've always seen. It's normal, and then it's like, you step back, you're like, damn, actually that's terrible. Or I don't know, for me, like I left home probably, I finished high school early, left home probably around like 17. I kind of grew up in a household where there was a functioning addict, alcoholism, things like that. And honestly, even some of the aspiration things I've accomplished, it was like kind of like, even I get that feedback from them, like, we never thought you'd make it to that.
Mm.
Well, fuck you. But thank you, I guess, for your backhanded compliment. But that being said, there'll be stories or something. And then I'll sit back, damn, that was actually really terrible. But it was so normalized that it didn't feel like dysfunction. It didn't feel like, it was like, oh, well, yeah, this happened to me. You know what I mean? Like, or even for me, I think that when you do kind of come from an environment where you're trying to change the narrative, or you're trying to break generational curses, you almost even have to look at the shit that's happened to you as things that happened for you. So it's like, yeah, I might have been, in this physically abusive relationship, but now I'm able to navigate the world, or even I see the signs of something, what that would look like. So it's never going to happen to me again. I find that sometimes too, like, people genuinely may actually be the victim, but in order to get out of victimhood, you have to find something in there to own. You know what I mean? Even if your marriage failed, and let's say your marriage failed and was adultery, and while no, you can't go make someone cheat. The only person that's not gonna, it's like the only way a man is gonna not cheat is a man that chooses not to cheat. You know what I mean? There's nothing you can do to make a man or keep a man, only a man that wants to be kept. But that being said, you know what I mean? There's something there's something you could have owned, like either maybe something you could have seen preventative, or maybe even, I think for me, when I got my divorce, I will say this, me and my ex-husband were both focused on our careers. And to the point where there were times where we could have moved and lived in the same country or city together, but it was like, well, you just got this promotion. And, even he was supportive, like, you just got this promotion, you know what I'm saying? Like, he stay there, do your thing. But it was those things that kind of also broke down the union in hindsight, you know what I mean? But that being said, kind of taking it back to being the black sheep, I think it's deviating from the norm. It's attempting to do something different, or not thinking like everyone else. And that comes with like not doing what's always popular or what's easy. Because oftentimes too, being a black sheep means that you have a lot more awareness, you're more conscious, you're a critical thinker. Sometimes people can think you can also be a Debbie Downer too, but it doesn't mean that you're wrong either. Like, damn, like, you ever had that relative, or I don't know, I used to be that relative that's like, Thanksgiving, I'm like, they killed Native Americans this day, smallpox blankets, and it's like, or I used to be in marketing, and I remember they were doing this. The funny part was like Ford, they were doing a, what were they doing? They were doing a Columbus Day. They want a Columbus Day content built out, like marketing content. And I remember my colleague had to be like, Marie, your flyer, like your banner that you made to go on the person's website, looks dark as fuck. Like, it was like, it's very sinister. I'm like, well, that's what happened on Columbus. You're like, no more making Columbus Day flyers for you. I'm like, but did I lie? Yeah, yes. But that's not going to sell trucks. I'm like, okay. But I think there's value in being the black sheep. I think they changed the narrative. It's a catalyst for something greater within a family. What are your thoughts?
I love the vocabulary that you're introducing to our audience, because I think that with appropriate words, people can really say what they mean or mean what they say. Sometimes we use lazy talk, and then everybody's supposed to just assume that we all know what we're talking about. But then in real time, people are having very different conversations about some very simple and basic concepts. So I just want to start there. Thank you for the care to the words that you've been using. From there, I like that we want to define what the black sheep is, or at least why it has this baggage that goes along with it anyway. And it is, I would agree, because this entity, person, or thing is a changer, a narrative changer, a story shifter. And it's because of being the odd one out. So if everything is congenial, or if everything is supposed to be the same, and then you've got something that's not the same, well, you could do one of two things, I guess. You could accept it and move on, or not accept it and don't move on. And then I guess inside of those two things, it's a lot of different options too, because inside of your acceptance, would you want to make more of, or would you want to hope that this is just a one-off? Like, we're going to accept it, and then, this will be the only one that we have to deal with. A lot of times, the changers, the narrative changers, the story shifters, that's not what happens. It is a catalyst, like you said. It's like a spark. People see that things don't have to be the same. And inside of things not having to be the same or uniform, we find that our uniqueness gets celebrated. And in 2024, Marie, that's so messy, or it's a very murky area of expressing uniqueness or wanting people to be individuals, because somebody's individual truth could be some very harmful shit. Like, I try to be very careful with the unique and appreciation of uniqueness, because some things I think are supposed to be, and then some deviations should be corrected. But inside of that, it could sound very judgy. And I don't ever want to come off as judgy as much as I just want the math to math, just across the board. If you want to make babies, then maybe you would be with someone who also wants to make babies. That maths to me, right? If you don't want to make babies, then maybe you wouldn't want to be with someone who doesn't want to make babies. That makes sense. If you're a person who questions things, maybe you would be with someone who accepts that. Or if you're a person who accepts the status quo, then you would be with someone who's like that too. Like, I don't know why we want to bring so many personal strifes or conflicts into our homes, as much as we might have accepted some fucked up shit a long time ago. Just the dysfunction was normal. And then now in our big ages, dysfunction is normal. And it doesn't have to be. But if we don't ever have these conversations, or at least try to have some thoughts about the why, I don't think that we're going to heal the generational curses that you talked about earlier. So I guess that's my initial thoughts. And peace to the room. Hey, ladies, don't forget to hit the bell and like the video.
Like the video. No, I think and that's the thing, there's so many nuances with what it looks like to be a black sheep. You know what I mean? Not just how people are using it proverbial, but like there's so many nuances when it comes to that, whether it is being the standout instead of trying to fit in. And I think that too, we've, we have this culture of be yourself, but not like that.
Be yourself, but not like that. No, you're right. You're right. No, that's
like that.
No, that's real, because we've been talking about weight loss and those journeys, and then inside of that, you'll have men who will tell you, I like you, but they'll tell me, I like you, but, and it's like, but do you like me? Because what's this but? Because if you are a stickler for the English language like I am, or maybe it's just the teacher in me, everything before the but doesn't really matter. Like, what I like, but
I don't know. I've actually had that same conversation. I concur. The but, like, my favorite is when they like me and I don't like them, and then they're telling me what I can do, to make myself more appealing to them. And I'm like, but I'm not even interested in you. I don't care, sir. Like, I mean, that's like me telling a man that like has no interest in me, but if you do this,
I would
catch my eye.
The Delulu. No, I'm
just like, little ma'am, I'm not interested in you.
We're laughing, but this is very real. The evidence is out there, fellas. Look, this is not a bash anybody, because we've got some people who've been in our comments and thinking that we're misogynists or man haters, and I don't think that is accurate, as much as y'all are going to feel like how you're going to feel about the thoughts that we have on this program. And you're welcome to comment your thoughts in real time so that we can have a discussion. This isn't an echo chamber, as much as there are going to be some strong thoughts and conversation. And if you're not ready for the deep dive, then maybe this isn't the channel for you, and that's okay. But for the people who are ready for this type of conversation, a lot of us have accepted some fucked up shit because we made it. And that's not right. You know, if we're going to have a conversation about right and wrong, we can correct things in real time if you give a damn about what happened. But Marie, people don't want to dive there. They don't want to say that their mom didn't do what needed to be done because they made it to their very big age with whatever the fuck she did, or their dad didn't XYZ, or like you with your family. I didn't know you was gonna be able to do this. Like, well, damn. She thought I was gonna be in a ditch somewhere. Like, were we placing bets? What were we doing?
You know, the irony with that is like, here's the thing. And for me, it wasn't until I was like 27. So I would say I kind of held a lot of that baggage. And to this, like, I don't know, it's one thing when you hold it and you're like mad still. So I think I was like, okay, kind of holding on to certain things. I was still bothered. But then I'll say this. I do recognize having my back against the wall, not having the parental support that, you know, the average child or that a child that comes from maybe a home of function would have. I think that it was like, it forced me to be a resilient woman. It forced me to be a better mother. It forced me because it's like I really do operate in that space of, I'm never going to do that to my kids. And I legitimately go out of my way, whether it's cooking multiple meals for every child, but like really showing up for them in every like way that I can, like thinking of like what would be significant to them, remembering times like where it could be like, I remember being younger, maybe my money was tight, but my kids have never, their Christmases is always like ridiculous, where even like my ex-husband, this is disgusting, you've done too much. Like my family's just like, but I remember not opening anything. You know what I mean? I remember, and while that sounds superficial, that's what kids remember. So let me tell you something, like you can do all the things, like you could be at work working hard and whatever. All your kid knows is that you were not there. That's it. That's all they remember. Yes, you could have been at work so you could provide for them. It's not going to be until they become an adult that they might even kind of get an inkling of what it was like or what maybe you were going through. Because at the same time, I think that when you're a parent, there's a different expectation as just being a human. And even though you're human, so you can have low self-esteem, you could be dealing with all kind of traumatic issues, anxiety, depression, but your kids don't really give a fuck. Are you coming to my play? Did you come to, you know, like, are you showing up? Did you come to my award ceremony? That's what they care about. That's what they're going to remember, is when you didn't show up. Not the 400 other times that you did. They just know that one time they was playing Daisy Bates and the Little Rock Nine, and they was the lead of the play, and you never showed up, not once.
Marie.
Oh, that was me. So, but no, but seriously, so I really make it a point that everything I've been through, I make sure that like I'm showing up for my kids in that way. But what I will say too is finding balance with that. Because then sometimes too, your kids can be a little entitled because you've given them so much because you're trying to make up for your own traumatic childhood. You know what I mean? And yeah. I think that kids, you know, one of the big things is that they need your time and your attention, maybe not as much your money, but your money too. I think that was like a big component. But I say that to say that even those like bad experiences, there's value there. There's like, now I will say this, it may not be value if you have a parent that's not accountable, like, or aren't ready to be accountable, because they might be really offended as fuck and need to know why you felt the need to air out. Because even though it's your business, it's their business too. And they're not gonna like that shit.
That's real. I agree with you, and Isla for that matter. The minis only care that we've shown up, and all of our personal issues aside, the same way that the bills don't give a damn that you had a bad day, and the light bill is due, and your mortgage is due. They are in the same type of expectations, and I think it's unfair if we're not looking at them like that type of obligation, if not more. You know, if you can't bear necessities with your damn minis, that's a problem, and they're gonna have some problems when they grow up. But you know, we definitely have a chance to correct them in real time, and I also will make multiple meals depending on, you know, the mood of the minis. But that's my choice to do. I don't I kind of want them to be entitled. I want them to know what it is to have quality things, and there not be anything wrong with that, in the same manner that my peers never felt like they were doing a lot when they really were doing a lot. So like you said, your children didn't know that you didn't have it like that as much as they just
Girl,
knew they had it, right? So
they didn't know in June I
but I
was
don't
still
mean like stunt.
for December.
I don't mean like stunt and then go in like debt or anything like that. I just mean to ensure that their childhood is not lacking or wanting, because it's not about the money, but it is about the time and the quality time. But go ahead.
So like two things came up with that. So just to address that, I think for me, what it is that like it's not really my kid's business to know if something ain't working out or whatever. I'm the adult. Like that was my decision. That's why I'm also heavy on like kids are a responsibility, they're an expense, they're a blessing at the same time, but like it's a decision, and when you go in there you want to be able to go above and beyond, because that's really your fucking job as a parent. It's like to go all out. Like this is like your this is a job of a lifetime. Okay, you're rearing people to put them out into the world, and you want them to be full, whole, sustained, etc. But to go back to what you were saying about a healthy sense of entitlement is so important. I don't know if you've ever read. Have you ever read Outliers? It was I want to say it's Malcolm's. I want to say it's Maxwell.
Gladwell.
Yeah, Gladwell. See.
All right.
So in Outliers, he has this one chapter and he paints this whole story. And for initially, when you're listening to the story, you're thinking it's like this child at the doctor's. And you're thinking that like just because he doesn't display race or mix anything with it, because even to a lot of things, again, we associate with race as just poverty or how you grow up. So sometimes it was like there was this child, they went to the doctor. And so one kid like had all these questions. What's this? What's that? What's this? And what's that? Well, why is this? Well, this hurts, but it was like just so many, because they felt like this doctor, this doctor, this nurse or physician, they were required to like, you need to like, and I heard this and this happened to me here. Whereas this other kid that came from a lower socioeconomic background, they were kind of like timid. They didn't want to ask too many questions. They didn't want to expect too much. And it's about having a certain level of expectations out of the world, expectations for yourself. And it's about setting standards, boundaries and standards. And so when you have a sense of entitlement, no, this isn't how I would live my life, or I can't settle for this or that. I think that going back to a healthy sense of entitlement, it really allows your child to be more successful in the world, be healthier, have stronger boundaries, have a better set of standards, just because they've been exposed to certain things and they just know like, no, I'm supposed to have this. I think once my daughter was crying because she had a B, and I remember the people were upset, but it was like but again, so my kid, I wasn't going to do anything to her because she had a B. But I did I was big on like just A's. You got to have A's. Now I will say when she started crying about the B and like wouldn't stop, then I was kind of like, B's are okay too. But like B's are okay too. Because I don't want you to be that hard on yourself either. And then it did get to a point as a parent where I had to also be like, hey, it's okay to like it's okay to fuck up a little bit, make some mistakes, like do some things. And I also don't want you to get out into this world and you're so sheltered that you've never been exposed to other things where you go crazy, whether it's like alcohol or drugs, or like, I don't need you like, oh, and then you're abusing things. You know what I mean? So there's a certain level too of okay, explaining things, having certain conversations, being able to educate your children on the why, the how. So it's not even that I'm just telling you not to do this, but let me tell you 4 stories as to why it's just really not a good idea.
I like that. It's like cool parent-esque, but I'm not your little friend. And really, I can be friendly, but I don't think that, well, I don't know when that happened. When parents and the minis were supposed to be friends as much as you're supposed to advocate for them. You're supposed to protect them, shelter them, nourish them, teach them. I don't know if we're supposed to necessarily be friends as much as, yeah, they're only children for so long, right? Outside of that, we're supposed to be rearing functional adults. And if you didn't do that, then your little badass child is now a fucking nightmare to deal with. Or you weren't there, so they never had any guidance or how they're supposed to be. And, maybe they weren't a badass child and they just didn't have any exposure.
Or they were neglected.
Yeah, because neglect means that you don't have access to care. Nobody gives a damn. You just do whatever the fuck. Or not, but there's the supervision is not there. And I do think that, what'd you say?
Supervision definitely matters.
It does. But in real time, our adult counterparts, our peers will say that they were a latchkey kid. They didn't have all this hand holding or tiger parenting or helicopter parenting or whatever the fuck. And I don't think that I'm that, as much as we should be aware there are real fuck people out here trying to harm children, and you should be cognizant of your surroundings and environment. Make sure that you are cautious. All of that stuff seems very simple, but in real time, people will say, oh, they got it. And you'll give your child a tablet with no supervision. That's kind of neglecty, because if there's no child lock on it, well, what if they just happen across a spam ad? They didn't go searching for porn, Marie. It was a spam.
Some more than they got curious,
and just start clicking. And now their tablet has got all sorts of malware, and they've been exposed to some extra titties that you didn't think that you were going to have a conversation about. But,
here's the thing with that. I think there is a fine line being your child's parent versus their friend, but I also think that it's very important to provide a safe space. So even when they make mistakes or whatever it is, they can come and tell you and they feel comfortable. Because I think too, even now, I don't know if one of the statistics that recently I was looking at is that how even like teen birth is down. You know what I mean? I think I grew up in a generation where they weren't really preaching, protective sex. They were preaching don't have sex. So It's like, if you're always just on this no, this hard no, this, kind of, I think that it's like you're not educating your children to give them choice. So it's like all this shit with this, we just raised ourselves. Y'all sure was raising your fucking selves, walking around here with these children at a really young age. Shit was happening to you. You were in places I know everyone that says that has some fucking stories, like some real stories. Like I got some stories.
I know how to normalize it, Marie. That's my problem. We shouldn't normalize it as much as you should definitely use it. That's what this channel is. This channel is that y'all got some stories. We got some stories. The game was not passed down in a way that the math was mathing for me, at least, and maybe for y'all too, because really our trauma shouldn't be funny. But I've seen, I jumped down a TikTok rabbit hole, and it was like, I'm the child of a narcissist. Of course, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, I was connecting with way too many of them. And like, to my mom or anything like that, but like, the fuck? What did I internalize?
What happened?
Right. Let's reel that back a little bit and have a deep dive. And inside the deep dive, maybe some of the decisions I've made in my own life have been because I thought that this shit was supposed to be like this. Here's the caveat. Inside of not necessarily giving or getting or receiving appropriate training in the adulting lesson, as much as just don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Like you said, children can go buck wild, or they can get real sneaky because they know that you don't want them to do it. So now they're just going to hide everything. And I don't want that. We need to be having conversations. I want to know. You think I'm going to be mad? I'm going to be more mad if you don't tell me what the fuck I'm wanting to know right now.
Or the hole you put, because that's the thing, right? So when a child that doesn't have enough information or access to information, or even someone that they can go talk to, sometimes they put themselves in even worse situations. Like, you thought it was bad, like they didn't do, like, well, I went and did this. Like I heard this you know, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I knew someone whose child, who I'm like, it's such a one-off. So I'll say this. Oftentimes you sneaking around, you doing shit you ain't got no business doing. Then there's a consequence to that. Then you try to like circumvent the consequence and do, then it's like now you're in some deeper shit that's even worse. It's like now you're drowning. You should have came and talked to me before the drowning part. Because we could have avoided all these different things. Because at a certain point too, like here's my thing, you know, sometimes we see those white parents or those rich, and they're like, oh yes, look at that privilege. Like the mom went and did. I ain't gonna lie. If I can do it for my kid, I'm gonna do it for my kid. I don't give a fuck if it's because I'm white, light, brown, whatever. Like if there's something I can do to save, protect, or swoop in for my child, swoop in there, to prevent a serious consequence. Outside of like sexual assault or something like that, everything else is fair game. Like if it's to get her into said school, if it's blah blah, blah to get her out of a fucking parking ticket, whatever it is, like I'm going to use my, because like I'm the mom, like that, like I'm here to, yeah, I'm not here to save you from everything, but I'm here to save you from your damn self though sometimes. And that being said, it's like a sneaky child, they way worse than a like there's things I don't want to know. Like I have a 19-year-old and I seen a condom in her bag, and I just, she is 19 though, and I literally was married at 19, so I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, why would you have that? Like, so like consequently, I'm never going to hurt my baby. And I really was.
There you go. I bet you learned that lesson.
But I did tell her about it, and she was just like, she was like, it took me 2 months, like when I could finally talk about it. Like, though I will say this, as a teenager, I did have that conversation. I did have the sex conversation. I talked about even just how sex, like once you do it, you don't do it again. So I'm like, please, like, make sure you, I'm like, it's not one of those things. It's like some Pringles. Once you pop, you don't stop. So I'm like, let's not, you know, let's be careful with that. Let's watch how we move. I'm
weak.
But like it's one of those things that you still have to have that conversation. You have to discuss that with them, because going back to one, I'm not trying to be nobody grandma, and nothing against anyone else that's a grandma in their 40s or whatever. That's fine. You know, hey, I just started like, you know, my kid calls me to ask me how much toiletry she has in her dorm that's 4 hours away. So at no point do I think she's capable of being a mom. So I need to have whatever educational conversations that are necessary, you know. But I feel like those are necessary, and that's something that didn't happen in millennials generation. It was just don't have sex. And then you got friends that are 14, 15, 13 walking around with a child.
Right.
So like it's a conversation that has to be had.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The abstinence conversation is included, but it shouldn't be the only drum being beat.
Absolutely.
So, you know, and then in real time, look, y'all can act like you don't know these girls, and maybe you didn't know her, but you knew of her. You knew that there were people out here getting pregnant at ages that didn't make sense, but you know, lack of supervision, lack of guidance, lack of knowledge, just being ignorant of what the fuck. I've had conversations with adults who seem to not know what makes a baby, and that's always been very strange. But if you never had the conversation and you've just been doing what your body feels good, then maybe you didn't know that the reason your period stopped for 6 months was because you were pregnant. Like I didn't just make that up. That was a very real thing that happened for someone. And I'm like, you're older than me. Like, what? But that happens. I think a lot of our elders were afraid of the introduction to, because like you said, once it pops, I don't know.
The Pringles, once you start, like I was like the Pringles little marketing commercial.
I know, but then I started thinking about the cherry, and it's like, yeah, that shit's popped.
But I mean, you know, it's like you have that conversation about everything. I talk to them, you know, alcohol, you know, especially in college, there's exposed, so there's a lot more alcohol going around. Having that conversation that alcohol can impact your cognitive abilities, your ability to make good decisions, things like I'm very like, I try to be as transparent as possible. And again, like some people will be like, well, but like it can happen. I need my child to be like armed for the world, not just, oh, what's that? Just
So
because
you're a mom who, when she turns 21, you're gonna take her out to get shots, drinks.
probably not. I don't really want to hang out with a 21-year-old, but I'll make sure that like maybe I'll pay for her driver that takes her around. I'm not like, I don't really want to party with my kids. What I'm more concerned about is their safety. I going back as you say, like the streets raised a lot of people. They're like, oh, I was just outside. There's so many compromising situations I know of women, or even myself having been in, where it was like, this probably could have been avoided, or if I just hadn't have been here or whatever. And that was the only thing that could have like changed the narrative. But it's like when you it's more or less, you're not necessarily sheltering your child from the consequences, but you're giving them the information, like you're educating them, right? So my children are very smart young ladies, right? So they should be able to make educated, informed decisions. So that being said, when they choose to do something or choose not, they know why. It's not because I'm trying to control you. Even, like I'm going to use this because it's an interesting time, but even like once upon a time when I used to like kind of heavily be like in ministry, a lot of the things, like even for example, like let's say premarital sex, right? Like there's like a bond that occurs just in general when you have sex with somebody, typically, unless you're just a carnal person, which that does exist, right? But there's also like, so let's say you and that person, you part ways, there's turmoil you kind of go through, almost as if like you were going through a mini divorce. I think that some things, it's not because I'm trying to control you, it's because I'm trying to protect you. And even I think of that with some of, just like I said, some of the scriptures, if this is why you shouldn't do this, it's not because, oh, I just don't want you to do, but there are negative consequences, there are life impacting consequences, even being a parent. I hear that like, just sometimes they're like, people talk about abortions or this or that. I actually think that being a parent is one of the most mentally taxing fucking things next to a relationship. Because again, it's another relationship with a whole other person. You can't control them. You know what I mean? So even for me, the idea of people just having like lots of kids, or not even lots of kids, but like not being in the position, being mature enough, being responsible enough to really parent your child, like that shit's a lot. Or even kids are a lot. Like they go through shit. Like we talk about fitting in, a child that we have kids now that they want to commit suicide. We have higher suicide rates among children. Like, do you know how mentally taxing it is to maybe deal with a child that is experiencing something like that? The emotions, the angst that goes with that, it's like, it's bananas. Like it's a lot. You know what I mean? Where again, some things can't be avoided, but some things can, or you want to be more prepared for it, or the why behind it. Or even I think sometimes I'll joke with my friends and I'll say that, like, I have a friend that's like, he's like, why didn't you tell me being a parent was so fun? But mind you, he waited to have a kid, so he was like 35. First of all, let me tell you something. When you're 20, 21, married, like even married or not, it was a struggle. I'm young. We semi-broke. Like we not broke, but we is broke, but we not, but we is. And it's not very fun. It's a lot. Your child care about $1,600 a month. Your paycheck was $1,700. There's all these different variables that occur. You're like,
that's being a young parent, being young and married is definitely different than being established. And there's a very real conversation, y'all, about should you even do some shit like that before you're established. And like, you will not have me telling you either way but I will tell you, like, at least my experience, like Marie, I was young, married, and basically broke and young and married, and not really because bills getting paid, but like, is that it? Is that all we're doing is paying bills? Life can't be about just paying bills, Marie. That math was not mathing. So, in addition to some other shit that didn't make sense, now I'm on to marriage number 2, and the math makes a little bit more sense. But
mathing over there. Like, we played Family Feud and stuff. We, we really did make the best of when we were around each other, even though we were young.
But no, like, to grow up with someone too, that shit matters too, because you and your ex-husband have a functional, healthy-ish relationship. And people will tell you that you can't do that. Look, y'all, when I say y'all, I mean internet people, are listening to people on the internet tell you how to live your life. I don't want to tell you how to live your life as much as, damn it, if people didn't tell us some shit that would have made sense in real time. Just context matters. Like even in the Bible Belt and ministry and stuff, those stories out of context will have you thinking that people are all holier than thou, but it's a protection type of thing. They don't want to tell you that they're trying to save you from yourself or from this as much as they just know that if you follow this play, it should work. You know, that all the intricacies, nuances, or details, you don't need all that shit. Just fucking follow the damn play. But no, you a millennial. You want to know why? You want to know? Nah, tell me about the roaches on Noah's Ark. You know, because I just the mosquitoes. I want to know about those. You know, and nah, I can't. Black sheep. You go over there and ask them weird ass questions over there. Marie, you and your angry ass Columbus hating can't be around family because you know the truth head ass person. No, you take that shit over there because it's too much for us. But in real time, Columbus Day is not celebrated in schools like it was when we were in school.
Oh yeah,
we were saying we said shit. Y'all said shit. You didn't just roll over. The math won't math, and he didn't even land here. God damn it! How do we have Columbus Day in America and he didn't even make it here? Make that make sense? No, you can't. Okay, so like let's scrap that holiday. There's some other shit that we can do like that easily if we're ready to dive deep.
But that's too intense and that would require a different level of thinking, and people don't want to do that. So here's the thing. The masses would rather just go with whatever the narrative is because it'd be too much to want. Change requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of work at the grassroots level. It requires reconditioning because a lot of things you've been indoctrinated, right? Mm-hmm. So even the things that you believe that aren't true, you know, it's having to sit back and accept that. And that's even a process, right? Have you ever been given some information that kind of undermines whatever you think is true, or like whatever, it's something you believe, and then you've had to kind of like stew on it a little bit and you're like, damn, like, you actually, like, they're right. You know, like after this, I went and looked this up, and after looking at this and reviewing this, and I think I'm a researcher, so forgive me, I will fall into a rabbit hole and me like looking at all these different citations. I had to go here, and then I went here, and then I'm like, so it has to be true after I did all this stuff. But I think that it's like we've built a society that is task oriented, right? And so that being said, they haven't really been trained to think anymore. They're trained to do the work, just like we had those standardized testing, right? So those tests, our children are being taught how to pass a test in a classroom. You know what I mean? They're not actually, and the funny part is I'll have the conversation with my kids and I'm like, hey, you know, they'll be kind of nervous about the test. I'm like, all tests are just aptitude, right? It's everything I've learned. And this is me. I killed the test. I was never the homework person. Like, but the test, like, it's just based off of what I've learned. Like in the course, I've learned some stuff, even if I wasn't, you know, doing your homework. I learned some things. So I always pass my test. I always have really great tests.
That is, look, to the audience, I want to make sure that we highlight this. When you're giving your mini a leg up, it doesn't mean that you're cheating for them. It's little shit like this. Like, test taking is stressful as fuck. I'm an educator, so I know some nuances that y'all don't really give a damn about as much as sometimes, you know, your child knows that shit and they bomb the damn test. And it's like, hold the fuck up. Right.
They're overthinking.
But you could do what you do, you know, let them know, like, look, if you want to make it from A to B to C, you could just do X, Y, and Z. You really can calm down about all this other stuff, and maybe your brain power can go here. You know, give them an out that will help, because really a lot of the memorization shit in school, y'all don't use the Pythagorean theorem in real life unless you're an architect. You can kiss my big toe, because you don't. You don't, unless you are using math in your day-to-day. A lot of shit that we've had to memorize, you needed it for the test, and that was pretty much it, right?
And that's actually being well trained. So I think that sometimes we give too much credit in certain areas where a truly genuine, resourceful person is one that knows how to go find the information. It's the person that knows how to
Yes.
type the right keywords in into the search engine or whatever it is. You don't, everything doesn't have to be like, I don't need you to memorize things. I need you to just know how to go find it. Go do the research. But I
Mhm.
say that to say that even for me, when I first kind of got into the IT world or whatever, they weren't actually telling me I'm teaching you to code. They were just giving me code and telling me to do said thing with the code, do this with the code, do that with the code, you know. Kind of like even when everyone's playing on MySpace, you're like, oh, make my
I know
page.
you saw little coders at that time.
Yeah, we got an HTML and out. So that being said, we have created a society that doesn't need context when they really do.
They really do. Yep.
There's so much, and then so when you have context, so even too, let's say you're coding and you don't know you're coding, but when you have context, you know you're coding. So when you try to leave that company and go somewhere else, you have the knowledge and the ability to speak to what it is that you do because again, you have context. But going back to that requires more analytical thinking. It's more in depth. It's not surface level. It's not easy. It's not simple. It's, you know what I mean? A lack of context is low hanging fruit, especially to just accept something.
That is very true. And like you said, having minis is taxing. Being a parent, especially now with all of the exposure, is taxing as fuck. A lot of us are tired. We don't have this extra time. Eve, I don't have all this time that you're talking about to talk to these little niggas that eat every fucking thing and they don't stop talking. You know, let me just give them the tablet. You know, I'm just give them a faux and I'm gonna go sit my black ass on the couch and watch my shows. And I'm like, I feel you, but you know, you're gonna have to live with them later. And I don't mean like I'm gonna live with them, but in real time,
you might have to live with them though. If you're doing that, you might really have to live with them because that's the thing. We're preparing our children for the future. So either you're preparing them or you're not. So like they finna live with you now, or they're gonna live with you later. Like when I say late, like so either you finna put the work in now as a parent, or you might have to put the work in later as a grandparent, as a whatever. Like there's so many,
and
like
that's not disparaging any. Again, if you a 42-year-old grandmother or whatever, that's not you as much as life's. And I really hope that you prepared for the life that you've prepared, because you had a mini who had a mini. That's your life. Like I didn't do anything. That's not my life. That's your life. Live your life.
Friday, I really wanted to take a nap, and I had finished my work early, got all my meetings out the way. It was like noon, and my daughter calls me, and I was like in the middle of finna take my nap, but she calls, I answer, and she, you know, and I'm like, what's going on? Or she's like, oh, I'm supposed to like do this thing for school's history, and so my daughter's history teacher gave her an assignment. Mind you, my daughter's 16, she'll be 17. She's very intelligent, very well versed. And I say all this to say that the assignment was that she was supposed to take one of the world wars, and it was one of the wars, whether it's World War One, II, Vietnam, Korean War, the Cold War, or even I want to say it was the Russian Revolution. So she's supposed to take one of those wars and create a theme park around the innovations of that particular war. The teacher who I sent a lengthy email to about the morbidness.
I'm saying, what are they supposed to have, like an Auschwitz chamber, or like
That's the thing. Like it just, and overall, there's so many people that, you know, there was so much, just typically so much loss, whether it's just collateral damage overall. That is just, to me, ideally, it doesn't promote empathy, or even like it kind of it takes away from the actual like the intensity or just even like the concern around like we're talking about war, right? So you taking something that's like war and then you've made it like we're making into it a music. I'm like, are you fucking sick, man? You know, and then at the same time, to me, it promotes like a lack of empathy for the people that lost their lives. Like even the Cold War. The Cold War. So my daughter picked the Cold War because she's like, well, at least nobody really died. But
Well,
everyone was fucking afraid. Like, so yes, you had the race to the moon, but even too, what the fuck do we really need to go to the moon for? Like, you might need to fix the fucking planet we already live on. Everyone keeps trying to find somewhere else for us to live. When it's like, if you have money to do that, you can fix the place we already live at. Like, let's be clear. What are you gonna go fuck it up over there too? That being said, though, so it was like the innovation of, you know, the race to the moon, or then too, it is that's when all those nuclear weapons were, you know, they were testing them out and doing all the things, you know, especially after they dropped that bomb in Hiroshima. So, but to everyone, and then everyone got some type of nuclear weapon, right?
right.
There was like this intelligence had went to Russia, and it was all kind of, you know, espionage and shit. But that being said, that was a really scary fucking time globally. Like, yeah, in her mind, she's like, well, no one actually got hurt.
So what is this, like a horror theme park? This is like when you go to King's Dominion for Hallow Scream or some shit. Like,
Girl, so she tried to justify it, and she's just like, well, you know, this was about the innovation and the ingenuity.
let me tell you, look, let me tell you about some innovation and ingenuity. When I was a teacher at the public school that I was a teacher for, there's a game. It's a simulated game, you guys. And I the screen went fuzzy on me, so I take the glasses off. But where you imagine that you are running for your life from war and you are trying to migrate to the United States or the UK. And in real time, it's like one of those choose your destination games, Marie, where it's like, if you do this, these options pop up, or if you do this, these options pop up. And you could either get eaten by a damn alligator, you could get, your family could get raped, or, you know, something really crazy. Like the realities of what they were exposing the children to, it was real shit that, you know, we read about, but in real time it was a game. Like the teacher had them playing this game.
This seems really educational to me. Like
How morbid.
Morbid, but it also, so I think the thing is that especially at a time right now where, you know, we see so much upheaval in the Middle East due to Israel like bombing every little neighboring Arab country on behalf of the United States and Britain. Like, I think that, like, I want my kid to understand like the immense suffering that comes from war. You know what I mean? And the problem is that it's hard to see that because we live in the country where our country benefits. Our politicians are making their money. The rich people here are getting even richer. And then even the military personnel we're sending out there, you know, they're given information that's kind of like it's misleading or not necessarily true. And it, you know, it doesn't come out for another 15, 20 years. Like even, for example, like Pearl Harbor, that, you know, they call it like sleeping giant, like we were just here minding our business, and, you know, and they just came and bombed us. Whole time we were like writing them threatening letters and shit, and really what they did was they bombed us because we were going to go over there and fuck with them, and we literally had given them an ultimatum. But it's like, that's not the information that's being told, one, to the citizens. It's not the information that's being told to the military personnel. Kind of like even recently it came out in the Israeli Times that apparently Hamas actually offered to give back all of the hostages around October 9th or 10th, all if they would just not invade the Gaza Strip. And they declined. And like, it just came out. And mind you, this is Israel's like credible publication where they're like, what? So you mean this whole time they would have given you, but it's like, excuse me, that information isn't made known until it's too late. And that's how every war that Americans have been a part of, it's like after the fact. You know, even Vietnam, like they're getting intel, it's just bad fucking intel, but then no one deviates until it's just too fucking late. So that being said, while that activity seems morbid, it seems more honest, where it's like, yes, and we walked on the moon, we did this, we did, like, well, what about the hundreds of thousands of people you killed, or the land you destroyed, or the soil, the farming, the agriculture, the people that shortened their lifespan due to the radiation that can't, what about all, like, and I think that's so important. This, oh, we're Americans and we're excellent, and we went out and we did these things in here, and we loaded these bombs with planes, and they came, these planes with bombs, and they came back empty, and we're doing American exceptionalism. Like, I know, I need my kids to know, no, actually we're the bad guys, baby.
I hear you, don't agree, but I like that in real time. Look, the bad guy, I just watched this this funny and it was like it was animated. It was a guy and the dad of the guy's girlfriend, and the dad says, you're gonna love and protect my daughter, right? You're a good guy. And he's like, yeah, I'm a love and protect her, but I'm not a good guy. And he's like, what do you mean you're not a good guy? And he's like, look, man, if your daughter was drowning, but there was a family of 4 over there drowning too, the good guy's gonna go save the family of 4. That's not me. I will, scorched earth type shit for your daughter, and in real time, I'm like, yeah, sometimes the bad guy does do the things that need to be done because the good guy is not doing anything. But America has such a sordid story. Right now, we've got the bad guy telling the story like they're the good guy. So I think as long as we make sure to talk about specifics, like who's doing what. Here's an example. People talk to me about endangered species. I'm like, yeah, okay, there are endangered species, animals that are supposed to be here that aren't. But who is doing the endangering of said species? Because people will say that it's a people thing. And I don't know that people are doing that as much as some crazy white people.
Which people? Yeah, no, which people?
Right. So,
people
having that conversation, I'm all for the bad guys is the bad guys and the good guys is the good guys. But in real time, if we're not having any of these conversations, Marie, we are perpetuating or allowing the bullshit to continue. That teacher that you're talking about is either not going to do that assignment again or figure out a better way to convey whatever the fuck she was trying to teach them because you confronted her about it. But how many parents did? And were you the only one? Did you have to be?
I don't. So the irony though is, so here's the funny part. Here's the beauty of parenting and co-parenting. Well, my ex-husband did not agree with me. He did not feel the same way I felt about the assignment. We were not in agreement. And I didn't give a fuck. I'm still writing the email. And that being said, and thing too is like he doesn't see it the way I do. However, I think there's important that like the main component too with this is my daughter's 16. I mean, she's well spoken. You can't do nothing or say nothing. She's very, and she will tell you what she thinks is problematic at any point in time. She's very entitled, has boundaries, etc. That being said, she still needs me to advocate for her. I still need to advocate for her as a parent. Like no matter how tough she is, how strong she is, how outspoken, no matter how, intellectually, whatever her intellectual capacity is, she still needs me to advocate for her because I'm her mom. That's my fucking job. Like whether I'm tired, whether I'm happy, whether I'm sad, that's my job to advocate for my daughters, both of them, regardless to, what they're capable of doing. Me speaking on it, did that mean that she couldn't do that? Absolutely not. In fact, she too was like, I think it's a morbid assignment. But I wanted to point that out because it's like what happens is too is like we think that you're grown or you're blah blah blah, and you can like, man, my job is actually to be your mom, bro. Like my job is to show up for you, be there for you, have your back, advocate for you, listen, tell you when you're wrong, tell you when you're right. Just send that email, multiple emails, because then even when she explained it, I'm like, yeah, with all the suffering and then everything else that's going on currently, you know, that's why I felt like it was important to like share that part of the story. Like, ain't she old? Like, she ain't just no little, just little, you know. Nah, she's a big girl. She was very clear. Nah, this is actually terrible. But I also want to go back to something else you said. You said that the good guy is doing nothing while the bad guy is doing something. Something came up recently where someone said that, you know, being a Democrat is like you're being in a cult, which, because I am or was a Democrat, saying that, hey, I'm no longer with them, does incite the same reaction that someone that like people complain about Trumpsters. Like, but it gets that same reaction, like, so you're not a Democrat, so you're, you know, like, are you a mega hat, blah, blah, blah. So, but here's the thing though, right? Something that made me like, one, I do feel like anyone that's like supporting these politicians without looking at their track record these days is foolish anyways. And you are like, it's all a cult, right? Like all the parties are a cult. It's not really just, oh, well, this one is worse than this one. But someone made a valid point, or I don't know, I don't think they made a point, but I don't think they meant to make it. And while the insurrection that occurred January 6th was like bananas, those people believed in something and they did something about it.
Oh, for sure.
And the problem is we have so many pacifists and moderates and everyone that's just waiting for this change to come about, which might not even doing shit for the change. They just waiting around, hoping, praying that something changes while nothing fucking changes. And so the thing is, while they may not be right, they not right neither. Like, so you just think just doing nothing or doing the same thing you've always done is the way either. You know, even Martin Luther King talked about moderates. People just stand by. You're just standing by waiting. And so again, not doing nothing also makes you the bad guy too.
For sure. That's for sure. I'm glad we brought it back around to the actionable items, because having conversations, it's a start. It's not everything, but you know, as parents, I think that that's a necessary start. Advocating for them while they're unable to advocate for themselves. Like, goddamn it, if you're gonna do it when they don't have any legal rights really right now. A lot of y'all wait until they are old to try to have some sort of say in what's going on. And it's like, hold up, pause on the play. I done made it to my very big age without your input, say so, guidance or whatever. But now you want to talk about, nah, let's reel that back. So if you don't want that type of reaction, you know, maybe that is your experience. That's what you're dealing. That's why you're the black sheep, because you've removed yourself from that toxic shit where it was like, hold up, maybe I'm not doing it the best way, but I am doing it different from yo ass, where I said I wasn't going to do it that way. And inside of that, it doesn't have to be perfect as much as you chose to do something. You didn't just allow your experience to what's the word, to define your future. You said, no, you're going to do something else. Some of y'all with spanking and stuff, y'all got spanked and you said you weren't going to spank. That's real simple type of change in an outcome, but maybe you've had to take on more because the corporal punishment aspect is missing. I don't know. Maybe you were a child who needed to be whooped. I don't know. You know, some of y'all got some shit about you. And I think maybe we'll have a conversation about discipline in the future. But Marie, you have any final thoughts about our conversation? Go ahead.
I want to remind people that while it's like, oh, people are black sheep and they're here, like, hey, they exist. They're like mountains. I want, even like going back to like your kid deviating from the norm or questioning the narrative, I think that we should take more time as society and culture to understand where these individuals are coming from. And I say that even with my child, like being a black sheep actually is lonely. you having to go out to the world and everything you know, or even that even if the dysfunction wasn't good, let me tell you something about dysfunction. It's comfortable if that's what you know. It's real comfortable and it's familiar. It's warm because it's what you know. People, the unknown is so fucking scary. And to go out there into the world and have to trudge and track through this and shatter your own glass ceilings and pave your own way. Like, do you know how lovely it would have been to not be alone sometimes, or to have someone with you, someone that supports you, someone that's in your corner? And going back to people that are supported goes so much further because it empowers them and gives them confidence. So even as a parent, when you see your child is deviating from the narrative, or they're divergent, or support them, understand, ask questions, ask follow-up questions, like learn more, be open. When you have friends like that, be open. You know, it's so weird sometimes when it's like the people you get the most support from are from strangers, you know what I mean? Or the people that you know and love, they rather like kind of, I think I remember once I was in the car and I was telling my grandmother about this book I was reading, and it was about science and God and how they're able to actually like coexist together. And one, I already, everyone feels like that, you know, Marie, I feel like those are like more male topics kind of thing. And she actually wished that I would stop discussing it with her. But do you know how like as a teenager, or how shut down I felt? And I use that as an example because it's like there's so many times where I could look at my child and be like, that's different. Or even people all around us, whether social media, friends within a circle, and you're like, they think different, and I could shun them for it or think that I'm superior to them. But instead, like, start showing up for them, asking them questions, ask them where they get their information, asking for a link, an article, a book, just so you can understand. So maybe they don't have to be like so alone in the world, or even too, just because like you shouldn't have to feel that way either. Or even going back to, there might be some information out there that like you were unaware of, you didn't know, and we don't know what we don't know, right? So it's not always that someone's just crazy or did this or that. It's like taking your time to like fully understand, research, look into stuff, and again, remembering to do that for the people you care about, like, and not just, they're different. Where you always like, you know, so brushing that relative off of Thanksgiving or whatever. Like some people really just want to be seen sometimes too. And it takes so long for you to get to, and what ends up happening is they stop caring about that validation. But initially it doesn't start out that way. It really starts out of feeling like you're in a lonely place, and even like manifests as depression. You feel like you're by yourself in the world. And, you know, over time you become stronger in your values and who you are and what you stand for and what you believe in. And then you get to a point where you just don't care anymore what other people think. But some people don't make it to that part either. Some people check out, or they cut everything short because it's like they feel like they're just here by themselves, or they don't feel the value, see the value in their lives, because two black sheep are treated like they don't have any value. That's why you shun them or you brush them off. You know, she thinks different. They just crazy. And they begin to internalize that. And that's all I have. I'm gonna get off my soapbox now.
I like our conversations, Marie. I think to the 70 plus people who've joined us live tonight, I think they like our conversation as well. Janae, I see in the chat, we are live every Monday, 8:30-ish Eastern Standard Time. Tonight we were a little bit late because we had some stuff going on, but essentially, you know, after dinner on Monday, you can catch me and Marie doing something like this, having an uncomfortable conversation about some shit that we think needs to be talked about. We would love for y'all to continue to join us in our conversations. So please do that. Thank you, Isla, for posting the links in the chat on YouTube. And as far as this conversation, look, what you just said, Marie, is very real for me. The not caring anymore part, because that's where the black sheep gets that negative stereotype. You know, they don't give a damn anymore about what you or society has decided is normal, because they're going to go their own way. And inside of going your own way, you do find like-minded individuals if you make it there. But like Marie just said, some people don't make it there and they get stuck on a depressive ass cycle. And you could do more for the people around you if you cared enough to have conversations. So we're going to keep doing that. Y'all be easy. Oh, wait, before I ended this, Sunny, thank you for the song. I'm not going to play songs over and over and over again, as much as if I like the song, I might play it again.
Oh yeah.
That's that.
Right to it. Hey. As of late, I'm trying to be more precise, prioritizing what I need in life. Talking cake, you know I need a slice. It was crumbs, we made this shit suffice. She won't skate because she see the ice, see the place, and then she get enticed. Double back, she let me hit it. Wait. Double back, she let me hit it thrice. Mommy, tell me what your price is. Shawty flexing what the price is, till she caught up in the crisis. Now she wanna know who Christ is. Shout out family trying to see me win. Homie sleep, don't know what dream he in. Mind control, don't know what TV is. Out the box, you cannot keep me in. This the presence of a legend. Story real, it ain't a legend. Break the bread up with the brethren. Danny Glover, lethal weapon. Never know, we keep on guessing. I'm just trying to whip it, hit the gas. Little button mash like it's tanking. Young enough to see the blessing. Hey, look. Click, clacking my wrist matching, we throwing gems. Big facts and these kids capping, we grown men. Yeah, shit slapping, we been at it, we zoned in. Quit acting, we been acting, we focused. Dip traffic, my whip dropping, you know what it is. Yeah, shit happens, but ain't no scratching me.
Took a break, stepped away, now I'm back to my old ways. Got me feeling like the best of time. And if you guess beside it, came back with the whole waves. Skip the line, let us through. Jim shine through the light, we're cut through. Sick thing, risk game off the cuff too. No scrimmage, making plays, and we up too. More blessings again. Who fresh as I am, my presence can style you. Just trust what I'm saying. Don't bust down the band, might bring down the value. We finna take the town wide over like an astro plane off the ground, sky floating. And you can have your hands in my face, but I'm seeing everything with my crown eye open.
Yeah, click clacking my wrist matching, we throwing gems. Wait, big facts and these kids capping, we grown men. Wait, yeah, hit slapping, we been at it, we zoned in. Yeah, look, shit happen, but ain't no scratch on me. Nah, look, big action with a lit caption, we focus. Yeah, shit happen though, ain't no scratch on me. Nah, yeah, whip dragging, we dip tracking, we strolling. Yeah, shit happen though, ain't no scratch on me. Nah.